Generation Iron 2.
New York Pro just happened this weekend. Sergio won. You know, I kind of wanted to get your take on the current state of the men's open bodybuilding. There was the beginning, the inception, the golden era. Then it was sort of like your era. Then it came the Phil and the Kai Green era. I see it as there's a lot of older talent that's on the way out. And then there's obviously Phil at the top of the mountain, right? And then there's a lot of the newer guys who still seems like they have a few years before they can really dominate, you know what I'm saying? It seems like there's a kind of like transitional period going on right now in bodybuilding.
Yeah, I mean, I concur. You have so many guys that's been there for a little bit, like Brandon Curry, finally starting to grow into his own and everything. And then you have Dexter, who's been there for, the father of time, and he's still killing it. And along with that, it's great to see a person like Serge Jr. coming into his own, especially what his father done, what his father stood for is just, I don't think we witnessed anything like that where we had such a iconic figure and then his generation, his son comes in. But yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with you. Phil is still the dominant force. I don't particularly see any of these guys coming and even challenging him just yet. It'll probably have to be one of those situations where, Phil is starting to descend down the mountain, which he hasn't yet. But start to descend down the mountain, and only because he's descending down does he meet these challengers. But I don't see that, unlike my era where you had Kevin, come out of the blocks, and I did the same and won a number of different pro shows. I'm not really sure why it was different then.
You think it's maybe at some point, in bodybuilding, like less people were interested in becoming pros?
Yeah, I don't really know. It could be a number of different things. I mean, my era just came off the cuffs of great Lee Haney and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we learned from those guys. And a lot of the guys that are coming up, they want to be the superstar now, and they possibly don't put in the time and effort. I always say that, like in basketball, everybody wants to be the next Allen Iverson, want to do the crossover and this, that, and the other, but they don't know nothing about the basics. You go back to Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, man, they were basic kings. And cats now, they see that and they want to emulate that now. And I think, for my era, we really built that foundation where, we stayed amateurs for, 3, 4, 5 years of seasoning ourselves where, instead of just turning pro immediately and then expecting to do well. So I think it's not just bodybuilding. I don't want to black eye our sport, but I think just right now, this whole era of everyone just wanting it now. You look at, rappers and singers and actors and everything. They see everything that everybody else have, and they're trying to emulate it right now, not understanding that. I mean, even look at the great Denzel Washington. I remember the movies that he played a long time ago. He didn't get no play, no love. Now he's an iconic figure, but you're talking, 15, 20 years at his craft. I think a lot of guys, their expectations of becoming competitive, they might have a false sense that has come a lot faster than not. I mean, even myself, I started competing when I was 13, so I mean, probably competed in over 400 shows before I even turned pro. So I was already kind of used to being on stage. I kind of grew into my own self. So when I got there, I was able to demonstrate that. But most of these guys probably haven't competed in over probably, 10, 15 shows. And they're potentially wanting to be pro or pro already, and they don't really possibly have the basics down there. That's not for everyone, but the majority, I think so. And I think that's the reason why we're having this conversation now, is because it's apparent.